And we're going to play a game. If this is your first episode, you may not know how to play this game, so we always just give the quick guidelines. Slow burn was supposed to be a fast game. Turns out it's not so fast. So we're going to give you, it's a leadership podcast, so we're going to give you two different kind of like opposing potential ideas, or a paradox, essentially. Two things that you may consider to be really important in leadership. And we're going to ask you, in a rock and a hard place, which one would you choose? And then explain why would you choose it. And we'll give you about 15 to 30 seconds for the why, and we go from there. So I'm going to kick us off with a few of these. Mike, any questions, comments, concerns before we dig in?
This is a nerve-wracking thing, watching all these different podcasts that you guys have done. And I still get nervous thinking about it, because I would, even before we ever talked about me talking with you guys, I would spend time thinking about them, and it drove me nuts. I had crazy moments. I think that I turned to drinking. It was horrible.
You're like, actually, the reason I'm on this podcast today is I've been in AA for the last 3 months because of you turds.
I'm making amends with the podcast.
That's right. That's right. This is my step there. So, well, I hope it drives you crazy. I hope it throws you off your tennis game so that, Wednesday night I can take your lunch money. That's always my hope, man. Yes, sir. Let's do it. All right. So, Mike, pick one and tell us why. What is more important to you, being or doing? The way I'm being or the way I am doing?
So, to me, it's the chicken or the egg question, because you kind of have to have both. I think doing shows who you are, but being translates to you doing. So I just don't know which one. I think for me, I would probably choose a little bit of both, but I think in the end, I think the doing matters, because you can be a great person and not get jack squat done. So I think the doing matters.
I like it, man. All right, we're going with doing. We will give you a passing grade. I won't tell you the final score until the end of this section. Number 2, what's more important, people or tasks?
I have to tell you it's people. So just for my job, I just hired a couple of people. So I am doing 1 week with a 1 week in between turnaround trips to France to meet the 2 people for the week that they start. So one started last week, the other one starts next week, and I'm going to make sure that I bring them on board and give them, a good starting point. So I think the people matter, because you have to, if you can't develop the relationship, I don't think you're going to get the same level of performance from those people.
I like it. All right.
But once I've done that, you better get your task done.
with the asterisks. I've invested in you, so now you better show up. All right, a little bit in the same vein here, a little bit, but we're going to turn it. We're going to turn the corner. Relationships or results?
So I think I already answered it too, because I think they're kind of the same to me. It's I think you have to have the relationship enough to create results, because the relationship helps define, how you get to those results, and that matters. The journey almost matters as much as the end result.
I like it. All right, 273.4. Brad, should we let him continue?
Yep. You passed the first round.
Yeah. Attaboy, Mike. Attaboy.
Really enjoy those insights, Mike. We're going to continue on. Next question is values or vision? In leadership, what matters more, values or vision?
I think values. I think your values drive your vision. So, but I also think that, I was just looking at our documentation recently, and I start off with what is it that we hope to do, and there is a vision there. But I define how we get to that vision with the values. So without those values, we can't reach that vision. So for us, our values are really kind of like, we're customer centric, So our customers are, in my case today, our customers are not the ones we're selling to, but my colleagues that work within the company. So, however 3,000 people or whatever, those are the customers that we're focused on, and we're trying to improve everything for them while securing it. So those values help make the bigger vision, which is to, in our case, to create security, right? So security.
Goodness or greatness?
This one was always easy to me, and it still is. So one thing I didn't say, I'm tennis prodigy, of course, still holding to that. But I grew up, my father was a football coach and a track coach, and I actually played on one of his teams and was on his track team and stuff, but I hated track, by the way. That's why I became a tennis prodigy. But I got the opportunity to coach my kids in football. So we did flag football and tackle football. And I also coached basketball. And one of the things that I really loved was, although it was always a slightly disappointing, we would make the championship games, but we wouldn't win because there were teams that had some great players, like 2 or 3 great players, and we couldn't fully overcome that. But I took players that had never played before and got them to a championship game. And that was always the cool thing to me. So I had goodness. And I took, I think if I have a bunch of good players, I can make them a great team. If I have a couple of great players, my good guys are never going to get any better. Mm-hmm. So I think I would rather have a bunch of good guys doing good efforts because they have a better chance of being great together. Typically.
I like it.
I love the application to a team context. Culture or productivity?
So I believe in culture and leads to better productivity. So if you do it right, it's hard to cultivate it in the right way sometimes. But one of the big benefits, and Taylor and I think this was one of the things that he liked talking to me about at one point anyway, maybe not so much anymore, I don't know. But so I worked for a company that's, it's global, but we started in France. So that really changes the culture of the company. So we have a generally different view about taking your time off. Like during August, you can expect people are gone maybe even the entire month in most of Europe, but especially in France. Here in the US, maybe 2 weeks, 1 week, sometimes 2 weeks. 2 weeks, it better be good because, you got to justify it, right? But the thing about that is it makes it seem like you would be less productive, and sometimes it feels that way. But if you understand the culture, you plan and you work in better ways to make sure that you open that door so people can do those things that help make them actually more productive when they return.
I like it. God, I need a month off.
I know. Yeah. I was just thinking about that.
See, why don't you get that, and then I'll work on increasing the podcast.
All right, deal.
We'll membership and followers, and all that stuff.
Love it.
I don't know about the money. That one's hard. We're not charging for it, right?
That's all right. Not yet.
Hey, talking as if I'm already part of the company.
You are. You're hired. In fact, you're the CEO. We now work for you. If you can increase your sales by 600%, we work for you. That's the deal. Okay, last one, recovery or performance. So you can think tennis, you can think business, to take it anywhere you want.
I absolutely know this one because I think you. So around the time that Taylor and I met up in what I would call the sweating with the oldies workouts, we.
I am the young one. I am the young one.
You are the youngest one. Yeah. But when I started that, I decided, oh man, I really got to do this, and I'm gonna really just own it. So I even have a gym at home, like a full-on like rack of everything and all this stuff. So I was working out like 7 days a week, going crazy. And then we started playing tennis. And so I'm playing tennis and I'm doing workouts and I'm doing it. And then I think Taylor might remember we were playing tennis one day, one Friday night, and I ran up to hit a ball and I stepped and I fell down and I tore my plantar fascia, so the middle part of your foot underneath. And it ended up bruising, like it was a massive bruise across the bottom, and it was horrible. Ugh. And I couldn't walk. Like the next day, I crawled to the bathroom. Like I couldn't get up and walk on it. And so then I'm like, okay, I had to wait for that to kind of heal up. And then I went to a physical therapist, and they're like, oh, here's your problem. You need to stretch more. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I started stretching more, and that helped. But then I realized I was always sore, like my, something was always hurting or whatever. And it was only in the past probably year or so I started realizing taking days off mattered. Now, it doesn't mean you can't do anything, but you have to give your body a little bit of rest. So that and sleeping, drink more water, that kind of stuff, all of that mattered. So to me, recovery is the only way that you get the best performance out of things. So you have to take time off. I mean, just in the work thing or as well, you can't work all night and be productive. There's a point where you're no longer as productive. You have to stop and say, okay, take a break, walk away, take a nap, whatever it is, and then come back. And a lot of times where you were stuck, you overcome it. So I think it's super important to have that recovery.
Those are great insights. There's this wonderful study done by Stanford where they basically demonstrate that after about 50 hours of labor per week for activity starts to decline. And then by the time you hit 55, 60 hours, it's like completely plummets because just the human mind and body literally requires that much rest. And I think it's particularly I look forward to us really getting into this because you work for a multinational global company and you see and experience how different cultures influence leadership, but particularly in America. Obviously, Japan is very known for people literally dying due to overwork, like literally on the factory line or at their desks. Their body's just like, nope, we're done. And I think that's a fascinating phenomenon that like we actually believe that is the good life or that there is some aspect of work that is that critical that we literally work ourselves to death. Like I'm really interested in what that tells us about the state of our culture and the state of our leadership, Yeah. So I think that those are great insights, and I really value that. Taylor, I'll kick it back to you, but I would give Mr. Christensen here a very high score on this ladder.
I think he got 427.235. Wouldn't you say, Brad? I mean, that makes the top leaderboard there. That's pretty good. Mike.
Definitely not low score.
No, yeah, definitely not. And we won't tell you what the scale is, but you did fine. You did great, man. So
thank you.
Thank you.